Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Miriam Talks. We are on guest. Norm, you have to turn the music off for you. uh, okay. Okay. Oh, it's fixed. Magic. Do you see it now, Norm?
Do I see what? I see myself on the left-hand side,
Oh,
and
great.
I see you,
Yeah, okay, perfect.
and I'm experiencing this little delay.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a delay. But it's good. It's good, right?
Looks good to me.
Okay, so tech issues is a real thing here on Miriam Talks that I experience, at least every other week, if not every week. So, hi,
Hi, are you talking to me? Or are you
I'm
talking to
talking
your
to you.
audience?
I'm talking to you. Sorry. I feel like the glare is too horrible on my glasses, so I need to take them off. You've only seen me at like 2:30 or 3:30 for class, so you've never seen me
That's right.
tired.
It's true. I've never noticed you to be tired.
No, because I've always been out of bed at least for an hour before I came to class.
Ah,
Um,
the life of a student.
so how is your week?
My week has been fine. In fact, this week has been really interesting. For one thing, we finished up the last session of our class, as you know. So that's always exciting, bringing a course to a completion. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then that evening, I met with a former student who is an artist, a practicing artist, and she is trying to think about what her next moves are. And so we had a chat. We actually stayed at the Hoother, and we had a good long chat about, does one try to become a prof? Does one just throw oneself into one's art? What are the pros and cons? So that's always great. It's always great to catch up with students and former students and to see what they're doing with their lives. And today, this is part of a great week because this afternoon, my wife and I are going to go into Toronto, and we are going to go for dinner at the AGO because
Ooh.
we are members of the AGO, and we're going to go see. There's a relatively new exhibit, Picasso with his Blue Period, and so we're going to go that, and then they're doing um, a series of dinner sittings where you get the kind of food that Picasso ate either in, let's see if I've got this right, I think it was Paris and Barcelona. I think in his early period, he was he was migrating between those two sites. And so we're going to eat that kind of food, and they're doing a wine pairing with it. So we'll be drinking uh, Spanish and French wines to go along with the cuisine. So it should be fun. And then we're going to stay in Toronto overnight. Should be fun.
That sounds fun. It sounds funner than my evening, which is working on your proposal for your class,
That's right. That's right.
which I have certainly started.
I'm glad to hear it.
Um, and I can confidently tell you that it'll be something.
It will be something.
It
That's
will be
right.
something. Whether it
And I
be
will be.
something that needs lots of notes on or not, you know, that remains to be seen.
That's right. I've got students checking in with me, yesterday and this morning. And when we leave for Toronto, I will not be checking my email for the rest of the day. So I will
Yeah.
leave you guys to your own devices. But I will be back. Well, I suppose I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be trying to give you guys a quick turnaround. So, but I'm
Yes.
not sure how much your audience wants to hear about this kind of,
Right. Of
work.
course. It's only fun stuff happens here.
That's
Um,
right.
um, I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking about the podcast last night, and I was like, "Oh, I'm actually so nervous about it because I'm usually not nervous because I don't know. I feel like the people that I've had on here for the most part have been very much peer level, and then this is not peer level." And so I was like, "Oh, I'm so nervous about it." So I guess in a way, it's kind of good that I slept in because I didn't have time to get nervous before we started.
There you go. That's right.
But one thing that you mentioned was that you wanted to talk about you've been working on a book that'll be released soonish.
That's right. Yes. Well, it was. I thought it was going to be soonish, but it looks like it's going to be delayed until next summer, I suppose, because my editor says that he can't get to the manuscript until May. So last time I published with these people, I love this editor. He's really great. We interact really well. But the process was very quick, very short. So I was a bit disheartened to learn about this delay. But that's okay. That's okay. It'll be out there eventually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, is it normally that does it normally take that long?
Well, last time
Or was last
when I
time a
got
fluke? Like I don't yeah, sorry.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've published a few books, but not enough to establish any kind of a pattern. But last time, once I got them the manuscript, the book was out in a couple months, and they sub-edited it or edited it pretty quick. So the turnaround was short. But this time was also delayed because um, I had more poetry and images for which I needed to get permissions. And because when you publish, especially poetry, the rights holders hold those rights very jealously, and they want to collect their payments. And the rights holders are usually big companies like HarperCollins and Penguin. At least they were in my case, and they have a huge long turnaround time, like 10 to 16 weeks. And so I got caught up in that, and so the delays actually started at my end.
Mm-hmm.
But got those sorted, and yeah.
Interesting. Would you recommend book writing to people knowing how frustrating it can be with delays?
I recommend book writing if you've got something to say. Yeah, if you've got something that you want the world to know about, then I do recommend book writing. But you know what? I also recommend podcasting and doing what you're doing. I mean, this is great. You're getting your voice out there, and you're connecting with other people and helping them get their voice out there, and that's all good. I'm trying to do that myself too. I've started well with some former students' help. They've encouraged me to start a YouTube channel. So I've got a YouTube channel now, and
What is the name?
uh, it's just under my name, so it's Norm Clausen.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to find it so that I can link it in chat.
And I put up right now. I've just put up one lecture course. It's my 309A lectures from. As your audience may or may not know, I'm a prof at University of Waterloo, and I teach in the English department. And one of the courses that I teach, which I love teaching, is rhetoric from the classical era through to the Enlightenment, which is roughly Plato to the 18th century. And I just hone in on a couple of key ideas, and I think it's really, really helpful for students. But I want you to ask me more about my book at some point.
Oh yeah, okay,
I don't
yeah.
want
Sorry, let's go back to your book. What are you writing?
to. Okay, so the book is the book is called "Rationality Is dot 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 the Essence of Literary Theory," and it is meant to be a very simple introduction to the idea of literary theory. Do you know what literary theory is,
I
Miriam?
know briefly. I know like I've heard the words, but if someone were to ask me what it is and how to describe it, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's right. So that's exactly the question that I want to be able to answer. What is it, and where do I start? So then the reason I think why you at least have heard the phrase is because it comes up, and not only in lit courses, but it comes up in most arts courses and most social sciences, though not necessarily under the title literary theory. Sometimes it'll be called cultural theory or social theory, but it all comes from the same place. And so, what it is, in a nutshell, is, well, the title of my book. It's about rationality, and for most people, literary theory means that the very idea of rationality is a mask for something else. So for most theorists, and I guess here I would use words like feminists or new historicists or Marxists or deconstructionists or eco critics. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of it. But for most literary theorists, rationality is a mask for something else. And so, in its really most powerful forms, mainstream theorists would say that there really is no such thing as rationality. Rationality as an idea is problematic, and that problem goes all the way back to Plato and Aristotle, who sort of started the Western tradition of thinking. And so I present that. And I have like the way that I teach literary theory in my second year course. We use a very popular anthology now in its third edition. It's got all these various writings. It runs to like 1,600 pages, and I just in the book I just show them excerpts where people say this, right, that rationality is male, right? It's just the cover up for like males doing what they do in the world, and such and such. So I walk the reader through that so that they can see that literary theory is a critique of rationality. But then I also say, and this is less commonly talked about, that still the topic of rationality is the essence of literary theory, and that there is something there that people are talking about and trying to make sense of. And I think that it can be defended in certain ways. I love literary theory because it challenges notions of rationality that we get from, especially from science, from economics, and from bureaucratic thinking. And they make us think about rationality in a certain way. But rationality, properly understood, is bound up with mystery. And this is something that I think, well, for one thing, this is something that I think literature has recognized all along, so that literature critiques rationality and it reaches out for mystery. And I think we can talk about this connection between rationality and mystery in meaningful ways, even at a very introductory level. And so that's what I try to do in this little book.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty cool. I grasped a little bit of that. Um, it reminded me of in my argumentation class. At one point, we were talking about the way that one argues and how usually males tend to have a um, more like aggressive approach, and that's been seen to be the norm. And then recently, they were talking about how that's not actually an inclusive way to argue. Um, and we studied a paper that denounced that and said, yes, it's not the most inclusive way to argue, but also this way, this is a way that a lot of black females argue, and you can't just take that out of the picture because then you're excluding some people that would normally prefer to argue like that. So you have to instead kind of be aware of your audience and introduce different ways and allow for multiple people to be part of the conversation. So that's what your talk of rationality and including it reminded me of. I don't know if that's a good connection or not.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, that's certainly a relevant connection. There are a variety of different problems that we recognize when we start to look at things like that, and I think that both of those observations are relevant. One, that that uh, men tend to talk in a certain kind of way, uh, use a certain kind of body language, and that can be problematic. Uh, well, just for an example, one theorist that I talk about in the book, her name is Luce Irigaray, and she says that, look, like, for women, they shouldn't even construct arguments the same way that men do, because as soon as they do that, they're playing by the rules that have been made by men. So she has this phrase, jam the machinery. And she says a strategy that women can use is to simply imitate, mimic the way that men talk. And doing this consciously jams the machinery, because it just it makes it obvious that there are limitations to the way that this discourse, or this way of talking, is proceeding. So that's one thing. But then on the other side, you run into this problem. So that with what you were just saying, what that's doing is drawing in critical race theory, which is another super important dimension of literary theory, cultural theory, social theory, is really in kind of our collective consciousness these days. And to say, well, look, like, okay, fine, so you're going to change the rules, but wait a minute, now you've changed the rules in a way that excludes the way that a certain group of people talk. And in that case, black women, right? And so we realize, oh, well, wait a minute, like, how do we, and the word that you used was inclusive, right? How do we include them, and how do we make sure that everybody gets a voice? And now you got another set of problems. Is like, well, okay, well, like, who do we mean by we? Who is it that makes the rules? Who defines what inclusiveness means, or what it looks like? Because somebody is writing the textbooks, somebody is teaching the courses, somebody is making decisions about what's in and what's out. I mean, these days, we're facing that question in a really important way with social media. There are certain people who are not allowed a voice because they don't agree with the dominant discourse. And, in some ways, you can't just walk into a theater and yell fire. That's reckless social behavior. But, is it the case that a group of people can cut people's voices out of the public conversation? It just is like, and then you get into a whole bunch of issues here. On the one level, you could say, well, yes, they can, because they made it and it's a private enterprise. So I'm thinking of things like just the mainstream social media. But on the other hand, you have to wonder if there isn't a sort of public domain thing going on here, where no group of techno whizzes or anyone else should be able to severely deplatform people that one strongly disagrees with. But we're getting into other issues there. They're related, though. They are related. And I'm trying to give just the very most general introduction to these sorts of questions, so that people can get their bearings on really complicated topics like the one we're just on the verge of.
But if it's such a complicated topic, how do you introduce it in a way that it remains interesting? Because I remember in my Psych 101 class, I was so bored because there was such a big range of topics that was introduced, and we just poked at each one of them and then moved on. And I was like, this is the most boring class I've ever taken, even though it covers like super interesting content.
Oh man, Miriam, I just love your question, and that's why I wrote this book, because that's exactly my attitude towards most introductions to literary theory. They introduce a lot of different theories, and they just spend like a day or a class on each one. Like there's a ton of theories now. There's, well, what I've already mentioned. There's feminism, critical race theory, Marxism, gender studies, things of various. Um, I'm frozen here. Should I be worried, or can I just
You're
keep
back.
talking?
You're back on my end, so you'll be
Okay.
back on your end too soon.
Okay, good. So, and like eco-criticism, cognitive theory. I haven't even mentioned psychoanalysis yet, or its updated version, Lacanian psychoanalysis. And I know I'm missing a whole bunch of them, and people who hold them dearly will already be upset with me. So yeah, in a typical introduction to literary theory course, you run over all of these various options, and implicit in that, so that already, as you were saying, like that's already a problem, at least in my opinion. I think it's boring, um, kind of in the way that the general prologue can be boring, because you get this introduction to all these different pilgrims, but you don't get very much said about them. So how is it that Chaucer avoids being boring? That's another issue, but that's changing the topic. But anyway, okay, so you got this issue with all these theories being introduced, and you have a related problem, and that is that when theories are introduced in this way, what happens is you implicitly, and I'm going to use a theoretical word here now, a philosophical word, it's reify. You kind of make real the idea that the reader or the student who's getting this introduction can look at this smorgasbord of different theories and simply choose between them. But that notion is counter to the first principles of theory, which, and one of those first principles is that we are all situated, we are all in a location, we are in a tradition, we are limited in various ways. So we all have perspective, we all have blinders, um, and so and it's a very old idea. It's kind of, at least, 200 or 300 years old, that we are self-standing individuals who simply look at the world and make these choices. It's very flattering for us. It really reifies the idea, a certain idea of freedom and a certain understanding of the human being as a willing, choosing subject. It works really well with science. It works really well with modern economic theories, but it's not necessarily true, and I don't think it is true, to our lived experience, the way that we have our being in the world. It's more complicated than that. And theory gets that. Like theory, this is what theory is is interested in, is trying to get at, is trying to complicate. And so I find it really frustrating that a lot of introductory theory texts adopt this kind of smorgasbord approach. It's boring, as you said, and it's also um, philosophically um, problematic, unsatisfying.
Do you solve this problem in your book?
No, I don't think it's a problem to be solved. Um, but one of the things that I think good thinkers do is they use a different kind of language. They don't talk about solving and proving. They talk about inviting one into a certain way of viewing the world, a certain way of experiencing the world, a certain way of flourishing. Now, flourishing is a word that Aristotle used. So you can take this all the way back in time. Um, it's possible to read the Western tradition, the Western literary tradition, the Western philosophical tradition, in a way that sounds like uh, it's presenting a certain understanding of rationality. But you can also look at the whole tradition in another way and says, look, in some ways, this is an invitation. And I think that there are aspects of the Western tradition that really pick up on this, uh, and it's not just the Western tradition, but the Western tradition kind of opens up and invites one into and can help one see that rationality is, as I said earlier, bound up with mystery.
Good mystery?
Yeah, good mystery, good mystery. Although you can, uh, as soon as you open yourself up to mystery, you, now, okay, so now you're talking about being in a tradition, and mystery is not something that one should necessarily just make up on one's own or feel that one can um, manage on one's own. And that's where the notion of tradition really becomes quite strong, I think, that if you recognize that there may be such a thing as a tradition of people, of a whole community wrestling with what rationality looks like and what mystery looks like, and how the two together can work to the flourishing of human beings and perhaps do justice to the longings of our own souls, uh, and do justice to a requirement to seek the common good, to have the best interest of others in mind. How all of those things together, how all of those things go together. That then mystery isn't just you know, um, a fuzzy word that you can to which you can give whatever content you want. Mystery maybe is something that, well, again, because it interacts with reason, that it can be given a certain shape. It can have a certain set of contours. Uh, One of the things that, okay, so again, this can sound, you know, complicated, but I think on a very basic level, it resonates for us. We realize that yes, we are rational creatures, and I don't think that any of us really wants to give that up. Those who argue that we should, I think they're still employing rationality when they do that. So I think that rationality is part of us. Um, but I think mystery is part of us, and I think that on a very basic level we get that. And what we need is just a more frank conversation about that. It's a kind of conversation that will throw us back to literature and art and to various traditions and I think at their best, traditions that talk about the soul, talk about the spirit, talk about yearnings for transcendence. Someone I think who's really good at this these days is Marilyn Robinson, the American novelist and essay writer, who who's one of these people. She's obviously very gifted as an artistic person, as a literary person, and she's not afraid to say, we need to revivify our ability to talk about the soul. Um,
I think it's interesting because I used to um used to be place like a high level of value on rationality, and then by default a very small value on the opposite. um and so I've been working at reversing, not reversing it, but I've been working on like trying to equal them out this past semester, and it's very difficult because behind the scenes in your head, it just doesn't make sense at times, especially when you're like,
yeah,
you can't be emotional about this, you have to think about the consequences and the pros and cons about this decision, and you can't be emotional about it. It's so it's difficult.
it is very difficult, and and again, we're always already working within a set of assumptions. Uh, so even the various words that we use, like the way you just said, the opposite of rationality, or you said reworking the balance, and you're conscious in your own mind that, oh gee, I'm not even sure if this is the way that I should be putting it. I don't know if and that's our situation. And that I think we all face that. And I think one of the sources of our hesitation and one of the sources of our awkwardness is that we recognize that the default position is a very cold and calculated scientific way of talking. And that's just the way of talking that has become dominant in our society. And we're aware that, I mean, this discourse is, this scientific discourse is very good in so many ways. I mean, right now we're all benefiting from, the science of vaccines, or at least, many of us are appreciative of that. Um, for me, a more personal example is that my middle son had cancer when he was 6 years old. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for modern science. Um, the form of cancer that my son had, I think used to kill 30% of people who got it, and now the recovery rate is incredibly high because they just figured some basic things out about that form of cancer. So I'm incredibly grateful for science. But should a scientific way of looking at the world, which deliberately brackets out certain more um, ephemeral or awkward or spiritual questions in order to do what it does. Um, should the benefits that we get from that in the realm of the more strictly material, should that be therefore be allowed to call the shots and say, well, right, well, these other questions, obviously, they don't really matter because all we really need to think about is how to perpetuate our material existence. At some point, we each of us have to face the question of, okay, I'm it's good to live now because I'm living at a time where it's more likely that I'm going to have length of life and probably better quality of life, in all kinds of ways. But is that material quality of life, sheer length of days and the ability to go shopping, is that the meaning of life? And um, and I don't think that science, at its best, really wants to ask those questions, but those questions Im, are important for all of us, and so we need other, kind of other ways of thinking. And the problem in the modern university is that however much we talk these days, especially about inclusiveness, one of the things that we're not really inclusive of is spiritual talk. If we allow for spiritual talk, we do so with a gesture towards, say, the spirituality of certain traditions. And so we think, well, there are certain traditions that haven't had a voice in the modern university, so we're going to make sure that we give airtime to those traditions. And so within respecting that tradition, we might talk about the way that they approach spiritual issues. But if you notice, the general conversation has already been quarantined as simply a way of allowing that tradition to speak. But in terms of actually raw, open questions on the table in individual classes, what's the state of your soul? What matters for our flourishing as a community that might respond to questions of transcendence and ultimate meaning? Those questions have been pretty unpopular, I would say, ever since it's a process that started with the Enlightenment, and became really popular, I think, in the 19th and 20th centuries. I think things are changing now, and I think that the work that we're doing on openness to other traditions and the questions that they ask is going to help us all in the long run.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would never ask a question about spirituality in a regular class because I would be almost embarrassed to, because usually the relevance is not there.
Right.
And if you attempt, like, you can make a connection, a string between the two, but normally I would expect that the professor would brush me off. And I don't know if that's the case or if that's just in my head. I imagine that it is the case and it's not in my head. That's why I wouldn't talk about that.
Yeah, and even that kind of, that little dialogue that we have in our heads and thinking, is this just me, or would the prof actually shut me down if I did this? Even that question, that's part of what's meant by the phrase dominant discourse. That we can't quite be sure where our classmates are at with that, where the prof is at with that, but we intuit something, we feel it because we've picked it up in enough classes, we've picked it up in the newspapers, we've picked it up, in this, that, and the other thing, right? And we're sensing, okay, well, the kind of the mainstream thing here, the thing that I got to do to get through this class is this, that, or the other. That's the dominant discourse. And even from the other side, like from the prof side, it's like, well, I may have my own views on this, that, or the other, but should I really talk about this, because I don't want to impose my views on my students, and I don't want to make assumptions that they don't hold. But at some point you realize, well, some assumptions are being made here, even assumptions about what are the very basics that we can talk about. Those are still assumptions, and over the years, I think that I've had to learn to be more open to the things that I want to talk about, and more open to the things that actually, frankly, I think that a lot of students want to talk about, and there's a way to do that is still honest and inclusive and open, but also pushes the envelope in certain directions, and encourages, okay, well, if we're going to talk about this, let's do this in a fairly rigorous way. Let's try to do this in a way that is respectful of where we've come from, even within the Western tradition. All of this stuff is I think is part of what the contemporary university has to face.
Yeah. Yes. We're running tight on time because we did start a little bit late.
Okay.
So what I will do now is I'm going to switch over to a game.
Okay, a game. A game.
Normally I would have explained it before we went live, but you know what? Like, you're going to find out with everyone else. It's okay. So, oh, where are you? Okay, there you are. Why are you frozen? Oh, wait, move for a second.
Because I left.
No, okay, you're good. You're not frozen. Okay. Do you see the screen? Do you see how there's a tier list?
Okay, but I've got this box that says live now.
As
Miriam
if
HQ, you mean just chatting, and I see this box with colors in behind it, but I can't see it. I can't see it properly. I wonder if I can click away the box. I don't know if I can. If I do that, am I going to ruin everything?
you should be maybe try clicking away the box.
It's behind it, but I can't see it. I can't see it properly. I wonder if I can click away the box. I don't know if I can. If I do that, am I going to ruin everything? Yeah.
You should be maybe try clicking away the box. So just mute the video that you're watching though.
Okay, so there. Okay. So are we still here?
Yep.
Okay, so now it's gone smaller on me. Let's see if I
You
can
know
make
what?
it larger.
Let me
There we
send
go.
it.
Okay.
Oh, you're good?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, we're good here. So I've got on the left, I see completely normal and sane meal. Okay, might be on to something here. I don't know if this is wrong, but it most certainly isn't right. Is that what I'm supposed to be saying?
Yeah. And then below that
Okay.
is curse, vile, foul, and everything in between. And the last one is FBI open up.
Yeah.
Okay, so these food items, and we'll go through the food items in a closer image. They're all food items that my brother ate, and I thought he was insane for them. And so anytime I'd see him eating something that I was shocked at, I'd just pull out my phone and quickly take a photo. Um, and so I put together this little game where we can judge his eatings. Okay, so we're gonna start with the first food item. The first food item is a pizza pocket with like way too much taco sauce. Um,
Okay, so we're thinking this is Italian on the inside, but it's Mexican on the outside.
exactly. A little globalization here. Um,
Fusion of traditions. Love it. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
peak of 20th century. Are we the 21st? 21st century. Okay, the next is a sandwich that has like a bunch of stuff from the fridge. So you have like, I think it's pickles. I don't know what, just like random meats. Is it pickles or is it cucumber? I feel like it's both. I don't know. And then the side is sour cream, sriracha, and then not pictured is the Cajun seasoning that he sprinkled on top and he mixed it all together to dip the sandwich in. The next item is spaghetti, but instead of the regular spaghetti sauce, you have this sausage with cucumbers integrated into the spaghetti very nicely. The next one is
It looks on the left like he's got like this paper, or no, that must be a spoon. That's a spoon.
that's a
Yeah.
spoon, yeah. The next one is um, vitamins. So that's a fish oil pill and vitamins. And he just, to be fair, he had it next to his real plate, but he put it on a napkin as if it was like a normal thing, and that people just have like a side dish of pills. And I was like, you're insane. Um, the next one is um, spaghetti again, but instead of regular spaghetti sauce, he had some ketchup. A previous guest pointed out that if you look at the side of the bowl, he had normal spaghetti and then went back for seconds with ketchup. You know, as one does. Um, the next
Or not.
one, or not, the next one is sausage with, you can see the square cheese just there. And then the ketchup, um, you know, delicious. The next one, spaghetti again. We can see a theme. The spaghetti sauce is underneath the spaghetti, and on top, to make it nice, we got the banana chips.
Okay.
And the final one, spaghetti again. Spaghetti sauce underneath. When he microwaved it, he put the cheese on it to melt the cheese, obviously. Then you got the pickles around in a nice, and he saw that I was getting ready to take a picture, so he put it in a nice formation of
Mhm.
circles, and then he drizzled sriracha sauce on top.
I don't know what sriracha sauce is.
It's
Excuse my
like
ignorance.
it's like spicy
Okay.
sauce. Yeah,
Sriracha, is it Italian?
I don't know. It's just sriracha. I don't know. I'm being ignorant now, but
I have a
so
feeling I should know, but I don't. So, okay, so
would you
are
like to
we
start from left to right, or would you like to go random?
uh we can go random. I'm okay, whatever.
Okay, where would you like to start?
Oh, I guess if I was just I thought, you wanted to control the thing here, but
Oh no, no,
well,
this is on you.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. Is that I don't like pickles and I don't like ketchup. So the pickles and the ketchup ones for me um, is just I guess it doesn't really fit your categories because um, uh, cursed vile. What does FBI open up? Oh, I get okay, okay, gotcha. No, no. Yeah, no, okay, I won't do that for any of them. But for me, um, I'm going to answer these as if, okay, I don't like pickles and ketchup, but other people might.
Okay.
Um, so, and other people do, obviously, lots of people do. Uh, taco and taco and pizza, or yeah, pizza pockets. Yeah, okay, might be onto something here.
Okay.
Um, the the sandwich with the with the sides. Well, you know, I'm a generous kind of soul. Again, I wouldn't touch it with the pickles, and I wouldn't be doing the mixing and the matching. But so I guess to be honest, I better go with I don't know if this is wrong, but it most certainly isn't right. I better do that. With the other ones, let's see. So the next one is spaghetti and oh shoot, I can't really remember what's
Uh,
going on here.
it was the I can pull it up. Which image is it?
Yeah, just
The
it's got
third one.
the two yeah, the third one. It's got the cucumber there at the bottom.
That's the guy.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Oh, I think that that is. I can't remember what was supposed to be weird about that, but
What do you mean? It's all
I
weird.
I'm thinking that you've got spag and you've thrown in a little meat with that, and in that kind of context, like cucumber, it's not even pickles. I could see doing that. I think that this is not necessarily normal in its presentation, but I think yeah, go for it. Yeah,
Where are you putting the?
completely normal and sane meal. Absolutely.
Oh, all right, all right. You know, maybe you and him are on the same page, and I'm at the FBI
Then the
section for that one.
so then you got your pills.
Yes.
I'm thinking like the only issue that I have here is putting pills on a napkin. How do you transfer those? I guess you're going to have to transfer those to your hand, and that's going to just be a little bit awkward. And I hate getting little threads of or not threads bits of like fabric or paper, right, that get pulled up along with stuff like that. But if you had put these things on a plate, a little side dish, I would have said completely normal and sane meal. um and so I don't know where to locate this. I think I'll still go with completely normal and sane thing to do. Just pop the pills, yeah, do it as a side course, whatever. uh Ketchup. Okay, so here we have this problem. And um uh like I'm okay, what I'm really thinking is you got a nice sauce and you've had the experience of a nice sauce. Why would you mess that up? And um I don't know if this is wrong, but it most certainly isn't right. So that's where that one goes. Now we got three left, right?
Right.
So okay, so this thing here, it looked. Can you show it to me again?
Yeah.
Because
So
oh no,
it's
this was ketchup and cheese, right?
yeah.
And it's like
Mm,
just on the level of just on the level of presentation. Part of me was thinking, okay, this is like an appetizer, little hors d'oeuvre type of thing here, right? And it's kind of interesting. But I need to see it again though,
okay.
because I think
So it's number 6, right?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what your numbering system is. I don't see any numbers, but no, not that one.
No, it's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah, okay, that one, yeah. So I'm thinking again, like uh the ketchup kind of mars it for me, but no, actually, I think that this works. So I'm gonna go with completely sane and normal. Not my cup of tea, but why not? Grab the little piece there if you like dipping it in ketchup. Fine, do your thing. Um, and so now, what's this one? This one is,
Banana chips.
uh, yeah, right. Banana chips, adding those. Okay, so I'm thinking, now that's weird But you might be onto something here. You might. That's. I wonder. I doubt it. I'm really skeptical, but I'd give it a go. Why not? I'd give it a go.
Okay. Your final one, the pickles.
Yeah, show it to me. I can.
Okay. It is this guy.
Nice presentation.
Is this what you do with students when they present you like trash? Nice presentation. I like the way that you introduced this concept here. Have you considered this?
Um, I I don't like the semi-melted cheese. The pickles are an enormous problem for me. The so what's the sauce again? Is that what did you call it?
Sriracha.
Uh,
It's like a spicy sauce.
Sriracha. See, that might just be the thing that saves it. It might give it a real
A little
it might give
kick.
the whole thing yeah, a kick and make the whole experience kind of elevated in some way. And who knows? Maybe it would even go with the pickles and redeem them. Show me the categories again now.
Yeah. You've been very generous with your with how you've been categorizing them.
Again, I wouldn't do it. I just don't like pickles. I don't like ketchup. But I think okay, might be onto something here.
Okay. Might be on something here. Well, that is your final rankings. Are you happy with them? Do you stand by them?
Yeah, yeah.
I believe you and one other guest are the most kind to the food items so far, and that includes my brother who came on here and judged his own food.
Well, he would have the experience, so he would know if it worked or not, right? So he
Yeah,
might say, because I could easily see where, like the salmon, the sandwich, especially, I could see that being cursed, vile, foul, and everything in between. With the one that we just did with the pickles and the
yeah.
sriracha sauce, I could see that being cursed, vile. I could easily downgrade those to that.
But
Um,
you're giving them the
I could
benefit of the doubt.
I'm putting giving them the benefit of the doubt. I could easily put the putting ketchup like so what really bothers me about this is you had a perfectly good meal going and then you went for round two and it wipes out everything. So for that one I could go as low as FBI open up. I could do that.
But you won't.
But I can yeah,
Okay.
my generosity or my sense of how these things can play out. See, again, like if I like ketchup, that might be a different story, right? So,
Fair enough. All right.
all
Well,
right.
we are past time. To
Yep.
conclude, do you have any last minute thoughts or advice or thing you'd like to tell our audience?
Pleasure to be on your podcast. I wish you all the very best with it.
Thank you.
I hope that people feel free to visit my channel, Simply Norm Clausen. There should be another lecture course going up there on like the literary theory course. That should be going up one of these days. I did an interview with a couple of my former students, and that should be going up sometime soon. And I hope I can put up some interesting content. It's not going to be something where it's as regular like your podcast. I think it's great what you do, but I do hope that I can, yeah, I hope that I can be of use to not just students. I guess I have a particular heart for students, undergrad students, not just students, people who have been to university and now are thinking like, what the hell is that? And they find stuff that they interact with through what I talk about and what I write. And I don't know if you lost me again for a few seconds.
Uh, it's okay on my end, but I don't know how the stream is, but that's okay. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for much for spending the time. I
My
know we're
pleasure.
over by 7 minutes, but and my internet is dying apparently. So I will conclude it here and switch to the stream ending sign.